All right, ready when you are.
All right, let's go. What is going on, all you awesome superhero aficionados? This is the Heroes of Eads podcast, your number one source of superhero talk. I'm Nick with my co-hosts Eric and Ruben. Unfortunately, Jimmy couldn't be in today. And before we get started today, I just want to kind of talk briefly about this. Actually, my coworker actually got me this because he knew that I was a big fan, and I had bought this comic
Whoa.
this week, and I actually got it Tuesday night, and it was here, and I'm like, I got some time. I was like, I was like, Mr. Cut, like, yeah, I got time. Read through like the half of the comic and then finished it off last night. I think I finished at like 2 in the morning because I was up doing some stuff. But I just bought The Last Ronin.
Dang.
Sorry, you can't see, but this awesome cover. This is only $20 too, so only 5 issues. You can buy it at your local comic book store. The cool thing is that the original co-creators Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird actually helped co-write this. Also, you can tell too because it's actually harkens back to the darker, grittier, more edgier take on the turtles that was their origin. That was kind of their original design with the Mirage comics in this early run. So there's also a whole lot of passion and a whole lot of commitment and dedication to making this thing good. There's just a lot of great things about it. We'll probably cover it in the future. I don't know if you guys have read The Last Ronin, but it is pretty awesome. 8 out of 10 for me. Make sure you guys go buy it, and we'll probably cover it at a later date.
Is that a
So
limited series?
it's only 5 issues, but
Okay.
we got a little bit of news talking about it, and the way the epilogue ends it kind of has some kind of future going. It was meant to be a mini series, and then they kind of had that, and they're talking about kind of doing what they call the Ronin verse. So just because
Ooh.
this was so successful, I think the second issue was IDW, the publisher. It was their highest selling comic, I think, of all time, or in the company's history. So this goes to
Dang.
show just how, and I think part of the mystery too was the fact you didn't know who the last Ronin was. I won't reveal who the last Ronin is, but that was also part of the mystery and the appeal of it was that fact of everybody. And I remember us too. We had talked about it in the very beginning, like who do we think the last Ronin is going to be? And I was actually really wrong on who it was, but really good stuff, and I can't wait to talk about it more in the future.
Awesome.
And moving on from that, there was a lot of goodies and a lot of awesome stuff that was revealed at Comic Con. Luckily, Eric got to go and experience that. And talk a little bit about that, Eric, just about that, because I think the thing when we actually have a video on this on Eric's experience. He blogged and posted about it on our channel, so make sure to check that out. But one of the things that really caught my eye, Eric, was just how welcoming and how supportive and just how awesome being in that community with a bunch of cosplayers and a bunch of passionate fans is. So talk about that experience a little bit.
I know it was crazy. It was a crazy experience. For those that don't know, I'm local in San Diego, so my wife and I actually got to go. We took public transportation because parking there's a mess, but
Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
yeah.
Good for you guys.
But yeah, so we took public transportation, and dude, even just getting onto the trolley on our way to downtown, people were already like super excited. Everyone's talking about heroes, and obviously you have like the fans that are just like that are just starting in these fandoms because of the MCU, because of the Warner Brothers cinematic universe. But also you have like the fans that are taking the trolley because they've been going to Comic Con for like 20 years. And it's really fun being able to experience that with them and just having conversations with like anyone. Um,
Yep.
Obviously, there's gonna be some panels that are gonna have like lines to get in. Like, yeah, there's some panels where you just go in and you sit down and you're fine, but others have a wait. And just being able to wait in a line and just start a conversation with pretty much anyone, it's pretty crazy. And because you're not just talking about like Marvel and DC fandoms, like some people get really into like the Magic Machine comics, and like me, like I'm a big fan of Black Mask comics. So and you just get to meet other people in person that are fans of the same comics, and even like the same like universes. Like there's a whole thing on Star Trek. Obviously, you get all the Star Wars fans there. So there's just like all these different fandoms. Everyone's coming together, and it's such a cool experience to just everyone just be excited for what's coming next, but also just to share your love for these fandoms, right? I
Yep.
mentioned in the blog that there's this one panel that I went to called Law and Thunder, and it was literally a bunch of lawyers.
That would have me
Yeah,
cracking up. I was like, oh
yeah,
really? Like, dang, it does feel like something you would see at Comic Con though.
yeah.
So
It's just like a bunch of lawyers and a federal judge on a panel discussing the law inside the most recent movies, the Multiverse of Madness and Love and Thunder, and it's hilarious because they're just having these like ridiculous conversations about whether stuff that they're doing is lawful or not, and is not taken serious at all. Like everyone there is just there to enjoy themselves and laugh and just have a good time because we're all fans, and that's what it's really
Definitely.
all about. Like we even went to a panel where I was talking to Ruben about this. There's a lot, obviously, a lot of cosplay that goes on. We went to this panel where a bunch of cosplayers were just talking about how to get started with cosplaying because they want their community to grow. They want to invite people into that. So it's so inviting. Everyone's super nice. There's like no fighting. There's no yelling. Like especially now, like with the like mask mandates and stuff going on, like everyone was pretty respectful of like everyone's space, but at the same time it's like everyone was following the rules. There wasn't like any like pushing or any like that. So I heard even in like the Hall H line, which is like the notoriously long line to get into the MCU panels and stuff, like even in that line people were just kind of like having fun, talking, discussing. There's not a lot of like animosity going on, so everyone's there really to have a good time, to have fun. And honestly, one of like the best experiences I've had in terms of like a public coming together to enjoy something, right? Like I've been to many sports games, I've been to many concerts, stuff like that. Like nothing feels quite like going to Comic Con and having all those fans together in one place. So yeah,
Yeah,
it
there's
was
Nah, I
cool.
feel
It
you.
was fun.
Yeah,
yeah, there's really
I'm
not an
jealous. I'm
experience like it.
jealous.
I think that's definitely the thing that I had those same sentiments too when I first had started going, and then just being around that community and just how welcoming and how cool everybody is, and how just friendly it is just to be around those kind of people. So that's definitely just that aura, and that energy is so infectious, and it's just so cool to be around, especially just knowing like everybody's a huge fan
Mm,
of this industry. Maybe they're not a huge fan of Marvel, maybe they're not a huge fan of DC or Ninja Turtles, but this is something that we can all relate to just because we're massive fans and we just really enjoy being in that
yep.
kind of atmosphere. So definitely, man, that's definitely like my main takeaway from your vlog was like, man, this just feels so relatable and like my first experience with going to cons.
Yep.
But going on from that, there was so much revealed at
Yeah.
Comic Con from for
Oh
one,
man.
we got further development with Phase Five. I think Phase Five is going to kick off with Ant Man and the Wasp. If I'm not mistaken, Wakanda Forever is going to end Phase Four, right?
Yes.
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 Yeah, so Phase 5 has a lot of good stuff going on. We have Ant Man and the Wasp, Quantum Mania that's going to be released in 2023, Secret Invasion in spring 2023, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in May of 2023, Loki Season 2 is going to release next summer, Echo also next summer, The Marvels next summer, Blade next fall, Ironheart and next fall. Also, Agatha Coven of Chaos is going to release next winter. Captain America New World Order is going to be May 2024. One of the most exciting intriguing things for me is actually going to be Daredevil Born Again, which is going to be coming spring
I hope
2024,
you do
an
that.
18 episode series on Disney Plus, and then Phase 5 is going to end with the Thunderbolts in July of 2024, and then Phase 6 is going to be kicked off with the Fantastic Four movie, and before concluding with the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. So, out of all of
I'm,
that, what is it that you guys are most excited for with this new lineup?
Jeez.
that I'm set for the next 3 years. I'm
Uh,
excited for the next 3 years.
Is there any project in general that you're most excited from Marvel though? Like, what is the one that stood out to you the most and said, "Okay, that's taking all my hype and is taking all my enthusiasm amongst all these projects."
Okay, only because I'm a big fan of Doctor Doom. And I'm going all in with him overall with the comics too, man. You should see what I have, like shit. Um, Secret Wars for sure.
yeah.
If it goes the way the route, yeah, that the comics did, then I'm all in for it, bro. And then Fantastic Four for sure. But I just want to see which way they're gonna introduce Doctor Doom.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much they can do with that right now. Like, especially Doctor Doom being so prominent in the Marvel comics, like they have to do it right. And Rue and I were talking about this earlier. It's like you have to introduce Doctor Doom before Fantastic Four. You can't introduce him there.
Yes.
So we're
Right.
talking about where we might see him. So yeah,
I
Do
think
you, do
he'll
you
be
guys
come
think
out
maybe
in Black
there?
Panther.
Yeah, do you think maybe there's a chance we can see him in Wakanda Forever?
yeah.
I
So
think
Maybe
there's
a
gonna
little
be like a
snippet, or
little
maybe just
hint.
some like little reference or something.
Yeah, like some sort of hint or some sort of like where like Eric was saying, like he said we were talking earlier, where he's gonna be the antagonist some way somehow. He's
Yeah.
gonna be the one that's gonna stir things up just because of the vibranium that Eric was speaking of.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
I
know?
was talking to Ruben about this. Like my theory is that in Black Panther, they're gonna come in, and obviously, there's animosity between Namor and Wakanda, and I have a feeling it's gonna be almost like Civil War was, where it's Iron Man versus Cap, but in the background you have Baron Zemo doing everything. I think it's gonna be kind of like that, where there's this fight between Namor and the Black Panther and then the rest of Wakanda, but in the background, what you really got going on is like Doctor Doom trying to start something to get the vibranium out of Wakanda, right? I just think that would make sense. It'd be really cool to see him. Like I've been looking for hints at Doctor Doom for like a year and a half now. Like
I, well, I know you had talked about that reference that they made in, I think, that first or second episode of Moon Knight with
Yeah.
like Von Doom or like FV Doom or something that was on the
Yeah,
back of a crate or in a on a cardboard box or something.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, so I've just been looking at any hint possible for Doctor Doom because I
same
actually
here,
thought he
man.
was gonna be like the next big bad. Obviously, they're setting up Kang in some way, shape, or form, but I think Doctor Doom is not too far behind.
Yeah, but like, see, that's why. So I'll go back to like most excited for. Yeah, it would have to be Secret Wars because I feel like if, like I said, if they go the route that I was saying, that's gonna be the one where they're gonna give all the freaking spotlight to Doctor Doom. You know what I'm
Yeah,
trying to say? That'll be the spotlight for Doctor Doom. But if it's not, then like I said, I hope to get little hints of him in Wakanda Forever, and if not, then anywhere else will be fine. But as long as he gets introduced before anything major happens on his part.
yeah.
Definitely.
But other than that, I am excited for. That's what I was gonna say. I'm excited for the King Dynasty because I already know King's gonna be another major villain for sure. And like you said, there's a bunch of variants on his part. So we're gonna get Iron Lad. We're gonna get Rama the Hutt. So a little things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's also something I'm pretty excited for just because it's going to be essentially their next Infinity War level event where everything is building up to Kang and we know how much of an intimidating force he's going to be. And this is also their chance to do something a little bit different. And Jonathan Majors is going to be playing all these different variants of Kang, whether it's going to be Rama Tut, maybe we'll see him as Nathaniel Reed and just having all that, like, and maybe Mortis and all these other ones. But it's just going to be very interesting to see how that's all going to play because that's something that's never been done before. And him, the same actor, playing all these different variants, all these different characters, and exactly each and having to go through and like the Avengers are going to have to defeat one and then focus on the other, but then another
yeah,
one pops up and another one pops up, and then we had seen in the comments with the Kang Dynasty, like that's something that's going to be interesting. So that's going to be something I'm definitely intrigued by just to see how it all plans out, and I'm just more excited because that's something we haven't seen before.
yeah. I think
But what about? I'm sorry, keep going.
I would say the project I'm most excited for. Well, I have a show I'm excited for, and then a movie I'm
I
excited
think
for.
that's where I was going to go. Actually,
So I think my favorite show that I'm excited for is Daredevil. Honestly, like I'm a big Daredevil fan. I have the Daredevil tattoo, like all that. But they're like legit getting Daredevil. Like they had him in Spider Man. They teased him in the trailer for She Hulk. They've already confirmed him in Echo. So we're just getting so much Daredevil right now, and then to finally culminate in the Born Again series, like it's gonna be awesome. And I'm just excited for that. I'm excited to see him. I think they showed a glimpse of his red and yellow like original outfit. I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, so I'm excited for that show for Daredevil. I just can't get enough of it, man.
And it's gonna be 18 episodes.
Yeah,
Is that
18
a
episodes.
Oh man, see that's what tops it. Oh, that's what puts the cherry on top. Like, oh bro, 18 episodes. They're not even doing that on Disney Plus with these new shows right now. It's only
Yeah,
5, 6 and done.
yeah,
18? Heck yeah, for
and
sure. I'm all in
that's
for that.
exactly what stood out because the fact is they must have so much confidence in this character, and obviously they know that fans have been wanting to see him for a long time, and we're eagerly waiting his return. So that part, but just the fact that it's going to be 3 times as long as any other series you've seen on Disney Plus, that really just goes to show the faith and the confidence they have in this character. and this, especially just Charlie Cox. Charlie Cox is awesome in this role, but I think the thing that was confusing for me was the whole Born Again title, because obviously we knew that that was something that was in season 3 of Daredevil,
Yeah.
where they had elements of the Born Again comic in that. So I think I'm wondering, do you guys think that this is this going to be a continuation of the character from the Netflix series, from the
Well,
Defenders verse, or is this going to be a brand new iteration? Like it's going to kind of start again. What do you guys think about that?
well, I think if I'm not mistaken, unless it might have been an old article, but freaking how they say it's gonna continue off from there, but it's gonna be all right. So it's gonna be same but different. I think like a different storyline, but continued off from there. And then not only that, the whole Reborn Again kind of makes sense though, because I don't know if you realize that in each of the shows he's gonna come out and he's wearing a different suit. So he goes from the old suit, which is cool. I like the OG suit, and then it's gonna be to the newer one, the darker one, and then it goes to the newer one, the black suit the red suit that we know, today on his episodes.
Yeah.
So I feel like that all of that is gonna be a process of what he went through in between to be reborn again.
Yeah. I think we'll get a better
I don't know.
idea.
I may be reaching, but
Yeah, I think we'll get a better idea after She-Hulk and Echo. Obviously, because we know in Echo we're gonna get Kingpin, and we're gonna
know he's
see.
gonna have the patch.
Yeah, we're gonna see where the relationship is between Kingpin and Daredevil at that point. Just because the end of the original like Netflix Daredevil series, it ends still leaving room for more. Like yeah, it was a complete ending. It was a really cool way to send off, but at the same time, like there's still elements of the Born Again series that they didn't really touch on, just
Right.
for the purposes of keeping it within the episodes. Like obviously they had Bullseye with being the Daredevil and all that, but I think there's more that they can do still within that comic, and
Sure.
there's so much to dig into when it comes to Daredevil, and like Ruben was saying, like they're showing different outfits, different costumes. It might just be kind of like flashbacks to other times that like all the work that Daredevil might have been doing as the MCU was progressing, right? So it might even touch on some of that just to kind of culminate in bringing him in completely into the MCU. Like it's just like a bridge between what was the original Daredevil series and what the MCU is right now as a whole. So I think it'd be really cool to see where that goes. But I'm just excited for Daredevil overall. So I'm gonna be watching She-Hulk for Daredevil. I'm gonna be watching Echo for Daredevil. But but yeah, I think it's really cool. It's really exciting, and I remember at Comic Con, like during when they were talking about She-Hulk, um, everyone saw the trailer, right? Like you see those things at
Yeah.
Comic Con before it's released, and everyone was talking about it. Even the people that weren't in the hall were already like, "Oh, guys, Daredevil's in She-Hulk," and everyone's like, "What?" And like everyone's trying to look for leaks online like right away because people are just taking pictures and sending it to each other. So yeah, it's crazy. The hype is real, and I think it's a really good payoff for all the Marvel fans that really stuck to those original Netflix series, right? Like we're talking not just
Yeah,
Daredevil, like
yep.
Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, even
Because a
Iron
lot of people are
Fist.
putting them down.
Yeah, like all the everyone that were fans of those series and watched them and really pushed to get them integrated somehow into the MCU and bringing them back. Like it's finally coming to fruition years later, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that just it shows two things. It shows the patience of the fans of just continue. Like there wasn't like, I'm sure there was some animosity, there's some crazies out there, but I think they just fans did it the right way and they kept pushing for it. You saw Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio like on social media, like also like with the fans, like, hey, we would love to come back and do this, and the fans pushing for it. And the second thing was Marvel and ultimately Disney really listening to the fans and what they wanted and finding a way to bring them
Yep.
back. So I think just the patience and them listening to the fans, it's really cool to see that come to fruition now in these next few years when it comes to Daredevil.
Yeah. 'Cause I think that was definitely my sentiments, just because when it got canceled, especially like season 3 ended on such a high note, and season 3 of Daredevil, without a doubt, was probably the best version that they have done, and out of all of that Defenders verse, like it was without a doubt the best
Yeah.
season that they had done. So not only that, but it could open the floodgates for these other actors. Hopefully, we'll see John Bernthal reprise his role as the Punisher. Who, with that, I actually just rewatched that series, and I'm like, this guy is the definitive version of
He's
the Punisher.
perfect,
without a
yeah.
doubt.
Well,
Yeah.
now that
So
you brought that up, Nick, my bad, really quick.
go for
I
it.
think I saw something that he's confirmed already to reprise his role. He's gonna have his
I-
own Disney Plus series.
I keep seeing it, but there's nothing confirmed. Like there's this like I'm scrolling through
Just
Facebook and I
rumors.
see John Bernthal is confirmed to come back in the Punisher, but we haven't heard any kind of announcement. So I think stuff like that we have to take with a grain of salt. Hopefully it can be the case and we'll end up seeing him again, but that's just something like hopefully we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
Hopefully, supposedly it's gonna be announced at the D23.
yeah. There's gonna be a lot of announcements at D23.
Hope-
So
Hopefully
see.
we'll get a confirmation.
Yeah.
And like I said, it can open the floodgates just because we have Charlie Cox, we have Vincent D'Onofrio who are going to be around for the foreseeable future. So that's good news. And hopefully we'll get to see the others. Maybe with the exception of Iron Fist, he can just lay to the wayside or something like that.
Just bring in a variant. Fix it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are actually there's a lot of support and a lot of fan drive behind the most recent Iron Fist. I think it's Lee Lin is his name, the new one that they just got released earlier this year. Danny Rand is not currently the Iron Fist. I think it's Lee Lin is his name, and a lot of people have been saying they can just replace him with that version of Iron Fist, and that could be something that they could do in the future also.
Yeah.
But moving on from that, like this is probably going to be, without a doubt, it was probably like the number one thing people were talking about at Comic-Con and the number one thing people wanted to see. But the Wakanda Forever trailer, without a doubt, was the thing that rocked Comic-Con without a doubt, and everybody was talking about it. And I think the thing with me too is there was just so much emotion and so much passion behind it, especially when you had Angela Bassett, Queen Ramonda, was speaking on that. I'm the queen of the most powerful. It almost seemed it just seemed very real and very visceral, and almost like she was talking directly to the audience, and especially about the passing of Chadwick Boseman. Rest in peace to our king. And what did you guys think of this trailer overall? Are you guys hyped for it? And do you guys think it's gonna do justice to Chadwick Boseman? And where does the story go from here?
That is such a loaded question. I mentioned that I have a most anticipated show, which was Daredevil. This is my most anticipated movie, and honestly, I think Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is gonna rival Endgame for the best MCU movie, and for the most watched MCU movie too. And there's two main reasons for that. Unfortunately, one is because Chadwick Boseman passed away. People are gonna watch to see what they're gonna do with Black Panther, right? But then there's the whole idea that Black Panther in itself, the first movie, was such a cultural phenomenon and so important to the Black community that they're all gonna come out and watch it. And then there's the whole idea of them bringing in Namor, who's representing Latinos like us, right?
Well, I mean, partially, sorry.
But I think Tenoch Huerta said it best when he was talking at the panel, and he wanted to talk about representation because representation matters. Like for me, and I'm getting emotional. For me, with my son, it's really important to me that he can see himself in superheroes, and me being able to show him Namor and be like, "Hey, that's our people. Like you can be strong like that." Like seeing a male superhero like that for him to look up to, because obviously we already got America Chavez, and that's really dope too. Like I love that character, but seeing Namor,
Reyes is coming too.
yeah, but seeing Namor as like this very prominent character in the comic books be a representative of the Latin community, I mean that's so important to me, and I'm just so thankful not only to like the directors and the cast for bringing that in, but even like the Black community for being so open to bringing in the Latin community into something so important as Black Panther, right? Like that's really awesome to me, and that's why I think there's so much hype around it now. Like we saw that trailer, and you have everyone, like even like not just Marvel fans, but you have the Black community, the Latino community, like everyone's coming together because they're like excited for this, and I really think this is gonna be like a rival to to Endgame and to some of the biggest MCU films, it's going to be up there as one of the best.
Most definite.
Yeah.
Definitely feel that same way. And I kind of knew that they were going to be going. There were first reports that Tenoch Huerta was attached to this role in late 2020, and we first reported on it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I know we were just waiting for that confirmation because up until I think it was when the concept art was released and we had seen that they were going to go for like a Mayan kind of design, and that obviously is very Latino inspired. We had known, okay, it's got to be pretty obvious that Tenoch Huerta is going to be Namor in this. And I think that part was just really cool, especially with me. Like, I'm not somebody, obviously, I don't look Latino, but I'm mostly Latino and I definitely identify as Latino. So that part was really cool to see that, especially a character like Namor. We already knew that he was very ethnically ambiguous in the comics, and there were reports that there were Asian actors, Latino actors, and different races and different ethnicities of actors who were being eyed for this role or being fan casted for this role. And I don't know much about Tenoch Huerta's acting, and I haven't seen Narcos, but he definitely seems like a great actor and somebody who is very passionate, is going to bring a lot of just his mannerisms and his look and design as Namor. It's really cool that they went with the whole Mayan design. You can see that with like the jaguar headdress and the whole. His throne looks like one of the coolest things. I don't know if you guys could tell, but when he's floating down into the throne, that's actually the mouth of a megalodon, prehistoric, gigantic sharks. So seeing that, I was like, oh my god, that is super cool. That is probably one of the most badass things I've ever seen. And and when you have Aquaman, who's being played by Jason Momoa, and then you have Namor being played by Tenoch Huerta, you have a Polynesian kind of. You have a Polynesian kind of what they're kind of going with Aquaman, and then you have Tenoch Huerta as Latino and more of like this Aztec, maybe or possibly Mayan kind of thing that they're going with. I think that part is really cool. Like, these are two kings of the seas, but both being represented very differently, and it is just an awesome thing to see.
Yeah, I think they're gonna do a good job with it too, because what I think Black Panther, the first film, did such a good job at representing the Black community, but also Africans. And I've talked to like several friends who've lived in Africa and are from there, and they've talked about how it's still like ambiguous who Wakanda is, and they like take little bits and pieces from different tribes, and even down to like the language they speak. So it's not very like you can't just pinpoint it's this country or it's this country, like. But I think they're gonna do something similar too with Tenoch Huerta, with Namor, and with the Atlanteans. I don't think it's gonna be Atlantis actually. They had mentioned it might be a different country, like yeah, they might change the name. But I think they're gonna do a really good job at like including different like not just Mayan culture, but other cultures as well, from like South America as well, right? Not just Mexican culture. And just to keep it ambiguous, right? Because you still want to be inclusive of all the different Latinos,
Definitely.
right? So I think it's gonna be really dope to see where they go with it. And honestly, Tenoch Huerta looked like intimidating, like in that trailer, like because Namor in the comics, he's not a happy person. Like he means business, right? And he is intimidating. And I actually caught that like the first like clip that you see of Namor, like his face, he's just like pissed off, and you can see it in his face. It's like, oh man, this guy is really like taking in like that character, that aspect. So I know people might be mad because he's not like white or Greek, but some people are saying that he should be Greek because Atlantis is like a Greek story and this and that. But even then, I think he is going to take Namor's personality and do it justice.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So,
yep.
Yeah. The trailer got me so excited.
One of my favorite parts of the trailer was when I don't know if they're going to be called Atlanteans, but him and the Atlanteans are being attacked on the beach, and the other Atlanteans go running for it, and he's just like standing still, very stoic.
Yep.
That just goes to show, just obviously in the comics, he's way more powerful than the other Atlanteans because of his half human physiology, or his hybrid physiology.
Yeah. Okay.
And also too, I don't know if you guys caught it, but he actually has wings on his feet too.
Yeah, you can see it when he's a baby,
with
right?
The baby, and then on the beach too. I was like, yes, yeah. And obviously in the comics, he has wings on his feet. That's how he's able to fly. Do you guys think this film is going to acknowledge him being a mutant?
That'd be awesome if they do.
I mean, they can, but I mean, I'm pretty sure we're gonna talk about it in a bit. But it was already hinted at in another show.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
we're
yeah.
going to talk about that, but
Yeah. I
because
think
obviously, well, for people who don't know, Mamor is technically the first mutant. Well, he's not the first in the timeline of the actual comics, because obviously that is supposed to be who am I? Not Darkseid. Why am I think I'm flatlining now? That's supposed to be Apocalypse. I'm sorry,
Apocalypse.
he's supposed to be
Yeah.
the first mutant. But Namor was released in 1941, in 1939, 1940. So he's technically supposed to be the first mutant in terms of when he was actually released.
Yeah,
Yeah. That'd be cool.
but
That'd be
I
cool if they
mean,
do
yeah,
that.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah, if that's the route they're gonna go. I could see that happening. Like he's gonna be the first confirmed mutant in the movie or show, because everything is just hinting at the mutant, But
Yeah.
I think he might be the first confirmed mutant in the MCU for sure.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that does. It'd be cool, especially everything we've seen so far. It's been his look, his design has been very faithful to the comics. So I don't think it would be a stretch to say for them to be like something about, oh, he's a mutant, or yes, I'm a mutant, or something like
Well,
that.
just the wings on his feet alone should tell you, like, hey,
He's
yo,
like,
that's not original,
yeah.
bro. That's not human.
There's something going on there.
That's not natural. Like, yo, what the heck? Like, Hannah, that's some sort of mutation right there, bro.
It's true.
Well, who do you guys think the Black Panther is going to be? Or
Well,
this new Black Panther, who do you guys think that's going to be?
It's gonna be Shiri for sure.
you think so? I think it's what's her name? Lupita's
Oh,
character. Not
oh, and Nakia?
Nakia. Yeah. I think it's gonna be her.
Damn.
I think Shuri has her own like well established character, and she has like the crazy gloves and stuff like that. I think her and I heard a lot of people say that they think Okoye might be the next Black Panther. And I think they just have their own thing going on already, and they're like well established as their own heroes. And I know in the comic books, Shuri takes over as the Black Panther, but I would really I think Nakia is probably be the best to take it over the mantle. But I don't know if she would be able to take the mantle of Queen. So I think it really depends because the mantle of Black Panther goes in line with royal blood, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it would either have to be Shuri if they somehow make T'Challa like pass away before he's like married or something. But we obviously see his mother as the queen. So
Yeah.
maybe if he did end up getting married, maybe the mantle can pass on to her if she becomes the next queen in line. So I don't know. So there's just so much going on there. I think it is gonna be a female. Uh, I don't think a lot of people
Sure.
also think it's gonna be Killmonger. I don't think it'd be Killmonger.
A lot of people were
No,
speculating that too.
Yeah,
definitely not.
I would rather see um M'Baku become the Black Panther than Killmonger. Just
For
because
sure.
M'Baku has more of a respect to the different tribes and to Wakanda than Killmonger did. Because Killmonger wanted to come
Right.
in and just be king, and he was very vengeful. Whereas M'Baku has tried in the past to become the Black Panther, and he just failed because he couldn't beat T'Challa. So there might even be like a really cool storyline going there. And Winston Duke is just an amazing actor. And
Well, how about this? I'm
yeah,
gonna reach out. I'm gonna go ahead and do a little stretch. What if, since we're gonna see Riri for sure, there
Riri.
were rumors about her going into some sort of like what's it called? Some sort of plane, where where you see your
Like
ancestors and
astral
shit.
plane.
Yeah, the ancestral plane.
Yeah, there you go. So supposedly Riri might do that, and that's gonna be revealed where Killmonger is her father. What if just by that she just become the Black Panther just for the movie, but that just proves that she is loyal. They just get back the Black Panther. You know how they take it out. When you're gonna get
The
they're
plant.
able to take
Yeah.
out they're able to take out
The power.
the superpower
Yeah.
that they give you. I feel like they're gonna take it back, and then they'll find a Black Panther down the line. but that's just gonna prove that Riri is freaking loyal and capable of becoming a hero, and then that's where she just moves on to become her own,
Yeah. I,
Ironheart.
I don't think people understand how like recent of a character Riri Williams is. Like she
Yeah.
just came out within the last like 10 years.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
Maybe less than that.
2015, 2017.
I
Yeah.
think say it's around the same time as Miss Marvel.
Yeah, so she's a new character. They can really do anything with her right now. She's not like a well established character yet in Marvel Comics. So I know we're gonna get the Ironheart series and all that, but
Sure.
and she's obviously gonna be in there somehow. But I think it'd be really cool to see Ruby Williams like try to make her own Black Panther suit, like a la Iron Man, making his own
Yeah,
suit.
that'd be crazy,
I think
man.
it'd be cool if they're able to incorporate that somehow. But yeah, but I mean, she's in it. We saw her in the trailer. She's gonna do something dope. And
She is gonna do something
yeah,
exactly.
so I think it's gonna be really cool to see where it goes from there. But I don't know. I don't see her becoming the Black Panther just yet, just because I don't know. I think fans wouldn't be happy, and I think they know
For who,
that
Fury?
for Riri.
Oh, Riri? Yeah, no, people would not like it. That's why I said I'm just gonna go pull out and stretch,
Yeah.
go out on the far side and shit.
And even then, you said it would only be temporary if she does do it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Like, oh, we need someone, but then Shuri's not ready for it, and then obviously, like you said, they don't want to give it to no one else. So
Yeah.
Riri's like, I don't really want this, but if I have to, well, I guess I will.
Yeah.
But she's like, oh, it's only for the day, or it's only for this,
Yeah. I think
But
it's
yeah, like I
important to
said,
know. It's important to know in the trailer when they did show the Black Panther, like at the very end, they showed the gold marks on it though. So
That's exactly looked like Killmonger's suit, the
yeah.
Golden Jaguar.
Maybe
I-
it's just Killmonger that comes back.
remember I said Riri might be the daughter of Killmonger, so that's why I threw that out there too.
Might be a switch. I actually think it's gonna be Shuri because there's a scene the scene where she's going up to Riri and they do like their little fist bump. She's wearing a necklace, and I actually went back and rewatched Black Panther because I'm like, that necklace kind of stands out to me. So I went back to rewatch Black Panther, and in none of the scenes she's wearing that necklace. And obviously we know she created the technology about where the Panther suit sits in the teeth of the necklace. So what I think it is I think she's wearing the suit underneath. Obviously you can't see it. So I think that's what that necklace represents. In my opinion, she's going to be the next Black Panther. It could also be Okoye, because if there's anybody more deserving of it, you can definitely say it's Okoye, just because she's the head of the Dora Milaje, and she obviously served T'Challa all that time. So I think it could be either one of them. I personally think it's going to be I think it's going to be her for that reason. But also, there's that scene where the one where after Namor floods Wakanda and she goes to the aftermath of the throne room, and it's all flooded, and like it's kind of reminiscent of the first movie where Killmonger burns down the area where the heart-shaped herb is.
Yeah.
If you notice too, like so no one is there. Obviously, you know that like because like the chairs are all knocked over. There's nothing around, so she wasn't there before. But how did she get there? What I think it was is she's got the heart-shaped herb, and then she jumped her way there using her powers. So that could also be a further indication that she is going to be the Black Panther in this. And I think the thing that stood out for me too is that obviously in some cultures, not everybody wears black when they're mourning. In a lot of cultures, they actually wear white because that symbolizes mourning. Obviously, we know here in that funeral for T'Challa, everybody wears white. And it also makes me think back to the first movie when he's in the ancestral plane and he meets his dad, he's wearing white also. Yeah. So that I also thought that was like a cool little nod where everybody's wearing white, and that's not something that we relate to because when I had been we wear black a lot, so and that's also something that we'd seen as like a symbol for mourning. So it's just something to see cool, like how different cultures, how they mourn and the process that they go through. And the thing that really stood out to me was that mural that you see of T'Challa in Wakanda. And you see like the kids are banging the drums to the right of the screen. Kind of reminds me of that mural of Iron Man in Far From Home. But if
Mm.
it's written in Wakandan, and I actually looked it up and see if there was any translations, and it translates to "The King lives and the Panther forever in us." So that's a cool little memorial thing, and that they
Yep.
had written, and a cool little nod to like that culture also.
Yeah. I actually
So
heard I've been seeing a lot of people post online saying that a lot of people are gonna wear white to the
To
actual
the premiere.
premieres. Yeah.
oh, cool.
So it's a whole thing. People are talking about just wear white when you go watch Black Panther.
Ah, well, I might have to wear white then.
Yep.
So moving on from that, was there any DC was there, but they didn't really reveal too much.
Yeah.
Mainly, it was
Yeah, I
their two movies
completely
that are
forgot
coming
about
out.
DC, yo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude, DC there is such big rumors that Henry Cavill was gonna show up and
yeah, I remember that. I was
everyone
so
was
hyped for it.
expecting it and everyone was just so disappointed. And there was this video trending going around, especially at Comic-Con. People were showing it to each other in the different lines of when they had the Q&A and they asked The Rock. I forgot what the question was, but he basically was like, I'll fight like the like I'll fight Superman no matter who he is, and everyone booed, like boo, because they wanted Henry Cavill to be Superman, and there was actually like an audible boo in the crowd. I was like, dang, that sucks, but because I think there's just this anticipation around it because the like with Shazam and with like the Rock social promotion of this saying like the powers are gonna shift and everything like
Yeah.
everyone's thinking about Superman and this like ultra showdown between him and Superman, but it's it's probably not gonna happen, and I think that's why people are disappointed.
Yeah, especially the way
Yeah.
things are looking. I know that the current because there's been the power dynamic and the shift with DC ever since they did that merger with Discovery. And the rumor was that the new CEOs they had wanted to the executives that they had wanted to prioritize Superman in the future because he wasn't the thing of the former executives, like that wasn't a priority for them. So that was something I was like, okay, if Henry Cavill's supposed to be making the surprise appearance, that falls in line with the rumors that were circulating that he's going to be around again and that they're working out a deal sometime soon. But it doesn't look like that's the case, and that's very disappointing. But for Shazam, for what they finally did show for Shazam: Fury of the Gods and another one for Black Adam, are you guys excited for those films?
Yeah, I love Shazam. I really liked the first one. I thought it was super cool and funny, and yeah, I'm excited for it. It's just that was the whole focus of their whole panel, and it was so disappointing. Like,
Well,
and
because
obviously
yeah, it's like
you can't talk about the other shows though. Like, what are you gonna talk about or the other movies? You're not gonna talk about the Flash, right? Because of Ezra Miller. You don't want to talk about Aquaman because they're that whole debacle too with Amber Heard. Like,
Oh
there's
God.
only so much they can actually talk about right now. And it was funny because I heard someone mention like, oh man, they should have just done Sandman during this because Sandman like it goes with like
oh, that's
DC
right.
and stuff. But Sandman legit had their own panel in Hall H in that big hall, and dude, that panel was awesome, and they killed it, and they like brought everyone out, all the actors. They're gonna be in the Netflix show, and it was like their original writers of the comic books, like they all
Oh,
came out.
Neil Gaiman was there.
Yeah, dude, it was
Oh, that's
awesome.
awesome.
So there's the whole thing is there, and I was like, dude, if they just would have added this to the DC one, it would have been so much better. But
Nah,
man, yeah,
the Sandman crew
Are,
already knew what they were doing. They were
yeah,
like, nah, we don't want to go. Like you said, they didn't want to dip their toes in, that water. They're like, we'll just focus on our own thing. If it's a hit, it's a hit. If it's not, it's not. And they took the risk, and it paid
yeah,
off. So,
yep,
but that's how you know that it's gonna be a good hit for sure. Well, a good viewership. We don't know if it's gonna be a good hit yet, but good viewership for sure.
yep.
what it's hard to say which one I'm more. And that was the thing that was a little bit weird to me because like they also have Blue Beetle coming out soon. That just wrapped filming. Batgirl is coming out soon too. I'm like, they didn't have like any kind of promotion or just any kind of like they didn't have any kind of panels with that. I'm like that's also something that's on the horizon for them. Just just beyond. And I'm like,
Yeah,
why wasn't that a focus, or why wasn't that even talked about? Like that didn't really make any sense to me.
I don't know. They didn't talk about any of the shows, and I don't know. So I don't know if you guys knew, but Marvel, the like Marvel Studios Animation had their own
Yeah,
separate panel. They like
yeah.
split out the movies and shows like live action from animation, but I didn't really see anything. I was looking for something for DC animation, right? Because I want to
Yeah.
see Harley Quinn and the new films, and I didn't see anything.
Well, they did show a sneak peek, but it's very small, and
Yeah,
they did talk about there were other animated films also coming for DC. Also, the main one that was highlighted was Green Lantern: Beware My Power,
yeah.
which Aldous Hodge, who plays Hawkman in Black Adam, is actually going to be voicing John Stewart. So
Okay.
that's pretty cool. There's also going to be Legion of Superheroes, Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham, RWBY versus the Justice League, and Justice League War World. So
Yeah,
that was also something too
yeah.
coming for
But a
DC. But
lot.
they didn't. The fact that they didn't have
Yeah,
their own
I know.
animation panel,
I
that's
know.
very weird.
A
Like
lot.
that's the highlight for DC.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of those releases actually they just showed them before the DC Comics panel, because I was at the DC Comics panel, and they had a bunch of writers for like new issues, and they just showed a couple of those like releases beforehand before the panel started, and I was like, oh, is this all they're showing for animation? Whereas Marvel had like this whole thing, and like I'm super excited for Marvel animation right now, dude. Like they showed us the first episode of season 2 of What If, and
What?
it was crazy. And it's what if Captain Carter found the Hydra Stomper? And
Ooh.
Mm,
you can see by the end of that episode, I don't want to ruin too much. You can see by the end of that episode what they're going into for season 2. And it's a really dope important storyline from the Marvel comics, and it's going to be awesome to see play out. So I'm really
yeah.
excited for that. But I mean, they even showed the first episode of I Am Groot, which is hilarious, and it's going to be more like family oriented because they're shorts. But man, that was awesome. And then
Yeah, oh, I
obviously
have it.
they have so much going on too. Like X-Men 97, they showed us a scene from
I
from
can't
that
wait for
the
that one.
series. Dude, I'm so excited for that one. Like legit, I'll tell you what the scene was because it was so legit. They had like the original mutants fighting Sentinels, and you just see Rogue like choke slam one of the Sentinels and throw him across the field, and then Wolverine goes up to it and chops off his head, and then Beast goes inside of it and starts controlling the body. And I was just like, "Oh man, I'm so excited for this!" And they show like they didn't show too much because they're still working on it, right? It's not going to come out till like next year, but they have all the like character designs, and they release like who's going to be all the characters that are going to show up in the Spider-Man series, and even in Marvel Zombies. And I'm
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty excited for Marvel Zombies too, because it's a continuation of the one episode of What If with the zombies, and it's
Yeah.
literally just starts off where Marvel Zombies ended. And like
Oh,
a
what?
lot of the original zombies from that episode are gonna come back, and then there's gonna be new heroes that are introduced. Like they're gonna bring in Shang-Chi, they're gonna bring in Miss Marvel, they're gonna bring in like a bunch of people into that, and with the original voices of the people that played them on the movies and shows. So
Nice.
it's gonna be so dope. The Marvel Zombies, the whole thing, and it's gonna be mature, because the what the creator was saying, he's like, dude, like this is gonna be like the goriest animation you'll ever see on Disney Plus. And he didn't say it's gonna be rated TVMA, but he's like, it's gonna get pretty close, and we're gonna see at the end whether it is TVMA or not. But just because they're going all in on the gore, like,
Ah,
and then they'll figure
Making.
out what they go with. But man, if they actually make like a TVMA Marvel Zombies, like
that'd be pretty
this is
cool.
gonna kill it, man.
Game
Like,
over.
yeah.
Well, I know you said something about, if I'm not mistaken, that you weren't as hyped for Spider-Man freshman year. Is
I
that what your sentiment was?
Yeah, I was slightly disappointed. I thought, okay, here's the thing. Spider-Man freshman year, I thought it was gonna be more of a almost like an origin story to the MCU Spider-Man, because this is freshman
Oh,
year
but
of
yeah,
high
there was,
school. But they're just doing, and it's made by Marvel Studios. So it's not like the like offshoot like children's Spider-Man shows. Like it's supposed to like go in line with the Marvel Studios stories, and they're doing something completely different. Like they're bringing in Harry Osborn and they're race swapping him, so it's someone different. Um, but obviously we haven't seen Harry Osborn really in the MCU. But like they're bringing in I forgot his name, Hulkling, and he's supposed to be like one of Peter Parker's like best friends. They're bringing in what's her name from the Runaways? The
Nico?
witch Nico. Yeah.
Nico Minori?
Yep.
Minora?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're bringing her in as like the best friend, and so it's just a completely original story. I don't think it's like going to be related to the MCU at all. The coolest part about it. I was gonna say the coolest part about it is that they are bringing Daredevil into that show too.
Yeah, that.
And it's gonna be voiced by Charlie Cox. So again, Daredevil's everywhere. But and even the villains that they're gonna be showing, like they have like Doc Ock and then a bunch of other like villains around him, but it's very clearly not part of the MCU.
Right.
Yeah. So that was my
and I think they already
disappointment.
confirmed it too. Yeah, I think they confirmed that they were like, yeah, it's not. It's just gonna be its own separate story. So that's why they're introducing but it's still cool because it's a different way to introduce different characters if they want to go that route. But like I said, it's not gonna be nothing with the MCU. So in a way, that's where I'm like, but it's still cool though.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting if they somehow tie it into the Spider-Verse, just because it is a different universe.
That would be cool.
So
yeah, that makes sense for sure.
So it makes sense if they do that. But it was just you can even tell by the crowd, like when they showed What If, when they showed zombies, X-Men, all that, like everyone's hyped and cheering and stuff. And then Spider-Man, everyone's like, oh, okay, cool. Like
mixed reactions.
Yeah.
Okay, what's gonna happen with this? Like,
yeah.
Okay, not MCU, but you guys bringing up this hype, so they have bigger plans for that. They're good. It's because that makes sense though, Eric. Because I'll put this in there really quick, Nick. My bad. So it's like it makes sense. I just feel like they're trying to make a way to like reel Sony in. You know, like hey, Sony,
Maybe.
like hey, come on, we're willing to work with y'all. Like, look, we're doing this, right? But like, come on, like hey, like. You want to involve us? Like, let's work a deal. If you don't want to give them up, like, you don't got to give them up. But at least, keep bringing in Peter some way, somehow.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Like, because at the same time they're introducing the other heroes like Nico and Hulkling. So yeah, that kind of makes sense. But yeah, so we'll see where it goes. I think I wouldn't say people were disappointed in it. I think it was just more like intrigue. Just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Let's see what comes about.
Like, they don't know what to expect, but expecting something good.
yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Like I said, I think there was that thought that it was going to be connected to the MCU at first, but then when they realized that how are they if it's going to go through high school, then like if they wanted to do their own things and involve villains from Spider-Man's Rogues, how are they going to do it if they didn't exist in the MCU? So I think that they just said it was its own thing so that they didn't have to worry about those kind of things or explaining, wait, how did these characters appear when we've never seen them in the MCU yet?
Yeah. Well, I had also heard someone mention, I think it was on Reddit or something, I saw someone had a theory that it was freshman year of college because it would just pick up right where he ended off in the last Spider-Man movie. So, but it's very clearly high school. Like when you look at it, it's very clearly high school. So we'll see. We'll see where that one goes.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
There's also some TMN. Obviously, I got a report on TMNT news that was released from Comic-Con too. But there was also some news released. We didn't really get any updates on any of the rebooted films, the animated one that's being produced by Seth Rogen, or the live action one that's being written by Colin and Casey Jost. I wish there was more details, but it's just been a lot of like, oh, this could happen, but this could happen. There wasn't really concrete on what was going to happen. But they talked about two different comics, and this actually reverts back to what I was talking about. Continuing with the Roninverse, there's actually going to be a continuation from that called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: the Lost Ronin years, the Lost Years, a Ronin story is what it's going to be called.
Hmm.
So that's going to be about the last Ronin's years in between when the other turtles died and when they returned back to the post-apocalyptic cyberpunk New York. So that seems pretty cool. I'll probably check that out. And there's gonna be a part 2 from the TMNT Power Rangers crossover also is gonna be coming soon. So pretty cool stuff that's going on with the TMNT comics, some cool things. And since we're talking about comics, DC also talked about some other stuff that is coming. Batman, the Doom that came to Gotham, that's gonna be actually co-written by Mike Mignola, who is the creator of Hellboy. There's going to be Crisis returns to comics. Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths is coming back. And there's going to be Batman Gotham Knights Gilded City. Sounds pretty cool. And so there's some pretty cool stuff going on. The interesting thing is that there's actually going to be a story about Paul Dano's Riddler from the Batman. It's going to be called The Riddler Year One, a 6-issue DC Black Label limited series set in the continuity of the film. That's written by Paul Dano with art by Steven Subic. So that sounds pretty cool. I always think it's pretty cool when we had talked about, obviously, Danny, who was the actor that played the Penguin? Danny
DeVito?
When Danny DeVito, he had done the comic he had written the Penguin story for Batman's 80th anniversary for the Rogues Galleries back in November. Now we have Paul Dano writing his own Riddler story. So pretty cool when actors are doing stories based on the characters that they played. I always think that's a pretty cool way and shows that the passion and that this wasn't just a paycheck job to them, but something that they took seriously and had some kind of devoted loyalty to that. So pretty cool to see. So a lot of good stuff from Comic-Con, a lot of exciting things, and wish DC would have brought more fire. It's just weird that it was really only those 2 movies and Sandman, even though Sandman sounds pretty cool. And obviously, like we said, Eric said that panel was really awesome.
Yep.
Just, it feels very weird that there wasn't more stuff highlighted for them. And the whole thing, and I think the whole thing was the leaked reports about Henry Cavill, who was going to be making a surprise appearance. I think if he had actually made that appearance, then people probably would have been talking about that nonstop and not talked about disappointment from DC and not really cared about them underperforming as far as bringing cool stuff to Comic-Con.
Yeah, true.
But moving on from that, something that we it's been done for a while, something we have been meaning to talk about, who I've been really excited to talk about. But the season finale of Ms. Marvel was earlier this month. And I thought it was a pretty good conclusion to Ms. Marvel. I actually really enjoyed the series and thought it ended on a pretty good note. Well, obviously ended on a great note for those of us who were expecting it. But what did you guys think of this finale overall? Did it meet your expectations? Was the reveal of Kamala's origin, did you guys feel like that was treated well, or should it have been what it was from the comics? Or what did you guys think about this overall?
I thought it was really good. I thought Ms. Marvel has done the best job as far as the new like Disney Plus shows. It has done the best job of connecting back to the MCU because of that like finale, right? And I think, I mean, WandaVision, obviously it led straight into Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I thought that was really good, but like the rest of the series, Hawkeye, Loki, like I don't think they've done as well of a job of like kind of showing us like what's happening with this in the MCU. I mean, I know we saw what's her name, Black Widow's sister in Hawkeye. I know we saw like like I know we've been seeing like hints, like you saw the Contessa in um Captain America Winter Soldier. So I think just Miss Marvel did the best job at leading into what's happening next in the MCU. Right? Like
Nice.
and obviously spoiler warning, there's two big things that happen at the end of Miss Marvel, and one of them is the hint at her being an X-Men, and I think it's more than a hint. I think it's almost confirmation because you hear the little X-Men tune play in the background when they mention that she might be a human, and you hear the and you're like, okay, that's kind of confirmation in my eyes, and obviously, and I want to go back to that in a sec, but and obviously, her turning into or not turning into switching places with Captain Marvel at the very end. in the extra credit scene. So
Yeah.
I think that is really cool, and just is gonna lead directly into the Marvels, right? Like that's what's
Right.
gonna happen there, and
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and I know a lot of people were thinking
Mhm.
because part of her powers, Miss Marvel's powers in the comic books, is she can like change her appearance to look like someone else, and she does end up looking like Carol Danvers at one point, but that was more because of her insecurities, and she wanted to be a superhero, at the very like beginning of her getting her powers, she ends up doing that. But whereas here, I think we come to the end of the show where she's already like more accepting of who she is, her family's accepting of what
Yeah.
she's doing. So I don't think it is the same type of thing where she like turned into Captain Marvel because of insecurity. I think it has to do with her either mutant abilities, obviously like what she's wearing, the bracelet things, and I think it has something to do with the cosmic powers that ends up switching her with Captain Marvel. And also because when Carol Danvers shows up, she's like looking around, and what she sees is like the posters of her, and she's almost like confused rather than like looking in a mirror and seeing, oh look, I look different. So I that's why I think it's not her like changing form. I think it's actually her switching places with Carol Danvers, and I'm really excited to see what happens next. I know Carol Danvers isn't the most popular hero in the MCU, but
Watch it be like that Freaky Friday movie
they just switch like that.
where
No,
they
and
just
see
switch
that
places.
I don't think it's gonna be like that. I really think they somehow just like switch places, and Kamala Khan is gonna end up in the cosmos somewhere trying to
Well,
solve
because
something.
Carol Danvers has cosmic powers too,
Yep. Yep.
so
Yeah, they're gonna
so it
be
makes a
connected
lot of
somewhere.
sense.
Something's happening there. Something weird's happening there.
It's gonna have to be the whole thing with the multiverse, bro. Like something, you know, something was broken in the time, and they got confused with which Miss Marvel. You know what I'm saying? Like either Captain Marvel,
Yeah.
Miss Marvel. Like
I don't know, man.
Monica Rambeau. Nah, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Shit, stuff like that.
Yeah, so
Things
obviously
like
we're gonna get answers in the Marvels, but I think it's really cool how it just kind of leads directly into a movie that we know we're gonna see play out. But yeah, I
most definitely.
overall the show I thought was really good. I think from beginning to end, it's probably one of my favorite uh Disney Plus shows, just because like I think it did better than Hawkeye. I think it did better than Falcon Winter Soldier. I was just so much more interested and intrigued by like her powers and her figuring out where they're coming from, and like just the whole story. I thought was really the cultural aspects of it. Just thought it
Mhm.
was really good overall story, and just a fun story to watch play out on screen.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I
I
gotta
think
agree with you
that's the
on that.
thing that this show did best too, was that it kept you on the edge of your seat all the way through with this mystery and the mystere about how exactly did she get her powers? Is it Kree? Is she an Inhuman? And all of that, like you just like I know from the very beginning I was speculating on all of that, and the I'm sorry, the bangle has to be Kree technology. I think maybe it's a Negaban because obviously in the comics that you're able to switch places. So I think that's how she was able to
Mm.
switch places with Captain Marvel, and I think she transferred herself to the negative zone. That's why she was looking around and panicked, like, oh no, because she realized, oh crap, she's in that girl that I switched with is in the negative zone. So that's currently what I think. I still think that
That
the
makes sense.
bangle is Kree technology, and I just think that aspect of it was really well, and a lot of the relatability and a lot of the similarity that I felt towards Kamala, even though, like I said, I'm not a teenage Pakistani girl, but just the fact of her being the super fan, and we had just talked about that, like
Yeah, I think she's super relatable, and I don't know if you've heard, but the actual actress has like a burner Reddit account, and she goes into like forums to
she just
argue.
like goes trolling or
Yeah,
something.
so she's like an actual Marvel fan, and she goes and she's just like getting into these arguments with people online on about Marvel superheroes and what's happening in the MCU, and she just creates burner accounts to go through and do that. And I think that's hilarious.
Oh man, that's crazy.
And
Yeah.
this show added something we haven't really seen before, which is that family dynamic and that support and that mother system, that father system, and that supportive brother system, and everybody is just coming together to you see that from the very beginning where her mom was very cautious with anything in regards to the bangle, knew that it was trouble, or just any connection to her mom, to her grandmother. But then by the end of it, both her parents are fully committed and fully supportive and fully understanding of the person that she is, and are fully encouraging it. Even though obviously there's a whole lot of danger associated with it, they know that she's doing what needs to be done and that she's becoming the hero that Jersey City really needs.
Well, definitely so, bro. But not only that, it's plot twist. She's the one who saved her own, saved her own. She's the one who saved her own. What they call her, Nana, or what?
Her grandmother, great grandmother. Yeah.
Yeah, her great grandmother. She's the one who saved her own great grandmother. Yeah, She was like, it was me. Like what? Like that's like whenever her grandmother talked about stars, her mom, Kamala's mom was always like, you and your stories or whatever, Little do we know. And then I thought it was funny because in the end it was like, see, I told you, I told you, I wasn't lying. It played all the parts, and not only that, I want to touch on the cultural part. It did play the whole cultural aspect. It's one of those first across the sea, besides Shang-Chi, but a different. Little by little, they're bringing different cultures into the MCU, and people love to see it. So that's why, I want to touch on that the Wakanda Forever, where the Black community were it was one of the biggest hits ever in cinema history, and I feel like Namor and Wakanda Forever is gonna be a hit. And Miss Marvel, it was a show, but trust, whenever she comes onto the scene, people are gonna be hitting those cinemas for sure as well.
Yeah, dude. I saw a lot of cosplay at Comic-Con. A lot of people dressed up as Miss Marvel, and
that's awesome.
I think I saw more Miss Marvels than Captain Marvels at Comic-Con.
Well, that goes to show. I mean, obviously, Carol Danvers and now that Brie Larson are not the most well-liked people in their respective communities, so that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's also what intrigued me about it more so was that Kamala in the comics is a very likable, relatable character, whereas if you know Carol Danvers' history, she's not so much. So I think right away I was more intrigued and more excited to see Kamala than I was Carol.
They're playing their characters right. That's what that means.
Yeah.
One thing I was a little bit disappointed in, but not really. What happened to the emojis, bro? What happened to that? It was just in the first.
Yeah, we didn't see that as much, but there was a whole lot going on with the story, and there was a whole lot of stakes there, and there was a whole lot of plot going on. I think that was more the reason why. But maybe it would have been a little cool to see a use of that or how they could have incorporated that in some way. We didn't really see that towards the last half of the season, so that part I would say was a very strong thing that they had in the beginning, and we didn't really see it so much towards the final half of the season.
Yeah.
But going back to what I was saying about her family is very supportive, and that whole dynamic is helping to encourage her become the hero that she needs to be. Her costume actually comes from everybody. Yeah. So the garments came from the Red Daggers, the mask came from Bruno. Her mom put it all together. And then her dad gave her the name. So, and you think about it, they're all helping to make her the hero that she needs to become. So I also thought that was a cool little thing. I'm like, wait a minute, like they're all contributing to her costume and to Miss Marvel, her personification, her superhero persona in some way. So that part was a really cool thing that you got to see throughout the progression of the series.
Yeah,
and near the end, I thought. Yeah, that part was really cool. I was like, oh, so each person like made up some part of her costume or was helped to create it in some way. But also in that ending conversation that she has with Yosef on the roof before she goes off to her superhero adventures, when she tells Kamala, and if you saved one life, well, you saved the world. Obviously, that's actually based on a verse from the Quran, and that's in relation to her saving Cameron. But I also thought that also harkens back to how the MCU got started with Jensen saving Tony in the first Iron Man. So that because those similarities and those parallels were definitely there, and I thought that was a culmination of everything we've seen so far. So this episode, I thought was a very, very great finale. The only thing I don't really feel was as strong was how everybody converged on the high school. Like you had Nakia there, you had Zoe there, you had Amir there. Like I thought that was a little bit that was a little bit weird, and that was a little bit too convenient that they all just happened to be there and ending up there at the same time.
Yeah, I felt that was more going along of like a Disney show,
Yeah,
right?
like
Like,
I felt because there was a lot, obviously, like I said, there was a lot of drama, there was a lot at stake. But then when they all just got there, I just felt like it kind of weighed down the impact and the emotion that we had with that, with what was going on so
mhm,
far, and like the stakes that was at play. Just like the whole plant, like it just became very comedic. And I'm not saying that it wasn't comedic, but it just felt that it was just kind of rushed through, and that they all just happened to be there for the sake of
yeah,
Yeah.
helping to contribute to that
Oh,
finale.
like the older brothers, like, whoa, I went in through the bathroom window. Like,
yeah,
I went to high school here too. Like,
yeah,
well, okay, well, yeah, I'm
yeah.
pretty sure you did. You know, like,
See, I thought that was kind of funny and almost like fitting, right? Because
I,
I think
yeah,
they're trying to keep it light. Like this series was meant to be light and almost meant to be watched with like family, and that's why I feel like they don't want to make the stakes too dark and too
I'm
like
not
yeah.
saying that they have to. I think just
No,
for
but that's
me,
why
it
it's
just
good
it just
though.
weighed down just what was going on and
that's true.
the
That's fair.
impact that was at stake. So
Yeah.
that's just my only thing. Like I think it was very entertaining, and how also too because you needed to have Zoe there because obviously she's Instagram famous, so able to get a crowd there and backing up them. So like I said, it made sense in terms of what the story was going for. I just felt like it kind of weighed down the impact and the stake that was at play.
Yeah.
But
Now,
like,
what I
it,
didn't like though, one thing I didn't like is like Zoe already knew who, who Kamala was, Miss Marvel
well,
was.
she had
Like,
said when they had asked, "Wait, how did you get here?" And she had said, "I do my TikToks in the theater at times." So if
She
you
just
remember in
happened to
season
be
two,
there.
when she first reveals her powers to Bruno, that's what it was when she was doing that for the first time. So I'm assuming that she was there, and they didn't know that she was there and that she was watching. I mean, that's how she
Yeah.
figured out that Kamala was the Starlight.
Yep.
okay, I know Starlight.
No, was it Nightlight?
Oh, not Nightlight. I'm sorry. Was it not Nightlight? Right? Starlight.
Yeah. I
I
don't
think
know.
I'm Stargirl. Whatever.
One
Nightlight.
of those.
Stargirl.
One of those.
I'm thinking of Stargirl now.
Yeah.
And,
It sounds
and
like
it's
one of
it
those
is
toys you grew up with back in the
and
days.
one of the complaints I did have in the very beginning was that they're changing up her powers from the comics, which I didn't
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
exactly like. I'm like, this feels very Green Lantern. And that was actually funny too, because they had a little bit of a reference to that when Amir's wife tells her, "Are your powers like?" She says something about, "Are your powers constant, or do they need to be recharged?" And she doesn't
Yeah.
answer because she gets cut off. But I'm like, "Oh, okay, Green Lantern reference." They obviously
Yep.
knew where they were going. But I thought it was kind of cool just how they all related it back to what the kind of powers that the other Marvels had with Captain Marvel and Photon, and it being cosmic energy related. But also, we finally in the beginning we had the directors had talked about her not achieving her final form. Makes me think of Dragon Ball for a second, but we haven't seen her final form, and we actually saw that in the very end when she finally said the words that we have been waiting for her to say, "Embiggen," which is what she says in the comics, and you see her stretch out. So even though obviously the show didn't have the budget, we didn't see it that long, and it was from a wide angle. And when you kind of looked at it, you're like, okay, that looks a little bit wonky, but this show didn't exactly have the best CGI. Maybe they didn't have the money for it. But I thought that was cool that they were able to have that source material in the show, and that they were thinking of that from the very beginning and trying to find a way to harken back to it. So that fact that they were able to do that makes it pretty cool for me.
Yep.
For
I
sure.
agree.
And also one of the cool things I had noticed. So it continued with the continuity of what year the MCU is in. So we had knew that No Way Home took place at the end of 2024. One of the weird things was if you saw on Ellis Island that the Statue of Liberty looks normal again, like we know it, but in No Way Home it was being rebuilt in a bronze statue with the Captain America shield. But here, a couple months later, it just seems to be just as we knew it. I'm like, was that maybe a mistake, or was that just they were able to just rebuild it in that quick of a fashion? But we do know that Miss Marvel takes place in winter, spring 2025, as in that food truck. We see that the sanitation grade is dated March 2025. So further continue with that continuity that it takes place in 2025, around spring, maybe summer ish. And one of the cool things that this show actually did one of the TikTok users at the very end, we see a bunch of TikTok users pop up. We see the principal talking. We see the food truck guy and that kid that stole Nakia's shoes that Miss Marvel saves in the very beginning at the mosque, falling from the tower. We see a cameo by the writer G. Willow Wilson. She was actually the writer of the Kamala of the Miss Marvel series, and in particular that this run is based off of. You see her say she seems so familiar, and her TikTok tag is actually at the real GWW. So that part is really cool. I think when they were able to have that connection to the source material and have a cameo from one of the inspirations that they took from and that they based this series on. So pretty cool the series is able to do it.
Yep.
So overall, what would you guys rate this series?
8 from me. It was a good
Solid,
series.
nice.
It was a solid series. I think they did a good job at introducing the character and tying her back to the MCU. So yeah, I think I'll give it an 8. I think it
Nice.
was a solid series that I could probably watch again with my kids.
Oh yeah, especially with the kids for
Yeah.
sure. What about you, Ruby?
Yeah, I'd give it a solid 8.5 for the same
Nice.
reason, just because like I did feel like I could relate to it, especially on the whole sneaking out aspect, and just teenage.
We know you still sneak out. You still have to sneak out, obviously. Latino parents.
Yup.
But being
¿Dónde va, mijo? ¿Dónde va?
but being imaginative and all that stuff, and things like that, because she basically, how would you say, what's that word I'm looking for? She basically manifested becoming a superhero, bro.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty awesome. But other than that, it's like she was going through everything that we've all gone through before, always contemplating. We've all doubted ourselves here and there, but it wasn't until you got that support, you felt like you're most alive, So things like, so 8.5 for sure for me on my part.
Sure. Yeah, very so. I would give it an 8 out of 10 too. I think it just from start to finish is really good, and without a doubt, besides Spider-Man, probably one of the most relatable characters we've had in the MCU. And it was just a very enjoying story. And Kamala is an awesome character, and I just can't wait to see more. Obviously, we've hinted at Young Avengers, and we know she's returning from the Marvels. So this is an awesome character who I look forward more to seeing more so than Captain Marvel for sure. And before we finish, also, one of the things that was released from Comic-Con that I forgot to talk about was Todd McFarlane and Greg Capullo are collaborating for a Spawn Batman crossover. Obviously, Frank Miller and Todd McFarlane did a Spawn Batman crossover before, and now Todd McFarlane is coming back with Greg Capullo to do another one. So
Nice.
Can't wait to see that and read that. It's going to be awesome. Did you want to talk about that too, Eric?
Yes.
Our next, okay.
So, real quick, obviously, for those that go to Comic-Con, you guys know there's a bunch of freebies. So I actually got some pretty cool stuff during the DC and Marvel panels. So we're actually going to give these away. So pay attention to our social media. We're giving away the first issue of Jurassic League. So the DC superheroes as dinosaurs. So it's pretty cool. We're giving
that's funny.
A preview of Constantine. So this is actually the prequel to the Hellblazer series. So he's in high school. So it's actually pretty cool. So Constantine. And the last one is a special issue of New Mutants. So we're going to be giving these 3 away. And yeah, so pay attention to social media. Make sure you're following us at Heroes of Mutants on Instagram.
Heroes of Mutants.
And we're going to be posting on there.
And I'm not giving this away, but I'm just holding it up because it is awesome. And go out and buy it for yourself, you bums.
I recommend it too.
All right.
But all that being said, that is all the time we have for today. So it was a pretty good episode. I'm glad to have you guys back. It's been a little bit. We were able to do an episode.
It's been a minute.
Next time, we'll definitely make sure to have the whole crew together. But thank you guys so much for joining us today. Make sure to follow us at IG at Heroes and Mutants to learn about any updates, and we'll post about those freebies that we're going to be giving away. And make sure to subscribe here to us on YouTube, share with your friends, like, comment. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you guys.
See ya.
Yeah.